Good evening, TNT family. Welcome back to Yellow's the Code on UNC USA, and I am fortunate to have Mr. Vitz here. I'm back with us. He's been busy for a while, and so it was kind of difficult to get him here. But Mr. Siram, I want to welcome you back to UNC USA Yellow's the Code program, and we've seen so many. Discrepancies with accounting from the Carnival Committee, CPEP. I mean, you name it. The sports ministry. There seems to be a large variety of discrepancies with accounting and a lack of trace of how our money is being spent, our taxpayer dollars. In the meantime, the previous government is trying to create all kind of distraction and detraction, yeah, to confuse people. But I mean, the facts is the facts, and they have to give us some kind of accountability how the money was spent. And I saw Minister of Public Utilities and Leader of Government Business Barry Paderat requesting that Faris and Dr. Rowley and their colleagues, explain the missing money. So I would like to get your input and views on obviously things, and if you can enlighten us a little bit, please. Thanks.
Good night to everyone, and thank you, Gary, for inviting me once more. Yes, the level of corruption and political interference with simple governance, I mean, that has to be addressed once and for all. And I think by only by way of example can we get any change with regards to the administration. And I think it's a good example as well for the current administration that look, we cannot be hypocrites on this matter, and let us also um, buck up and abide with the rules and abide with the laws. We cannot run a country so haphazard that you believe that you can, once you're in government, you can do anything. And I think I'm glad the present government is making an issue out of all of these things. And I think the judge has already ruled in one case where the individuals have to pay back around 500 and some thousand or $1 million. I'm not too sure the amount. So I think the government has to keep at it and should not let go. Um, and look at all the corruption in all the ministries as well as the state enterprises, and get back money where we could, because the government is short of funds. I suspect that they would have realized the depth of the whole financial hole that government has found itself in after so many years. That has been covering up. The Minister of Finance has been covering up that, I would call it disaster, saying that we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and so on. Just hold strain, and we have been turning around the economy by way of GDP growth and so on. So those things are superfluous numbers when the rest of the population is is experiencing agonizing pain, I would say, high unemployment, etc.
Which
So
I cannot forgive, because we have had too many people suffering, in the country, and I mean the deficiency in the level of services is so horrible. I mean, there's so many things that are wrong. So to see this kind of money, not accounted for. I mean, and I want some people prosecuted for this. Go ahead.
no, that is true. That is true. I think government needs to take it to the finish, and don't allow it to linger for long, because I think there's a tremendous amount of evidence available that you can pick up. And the question is, they are obligated. Their fiduciary duty obligates them to keep records, to keep proper procedure, to ensure proper procedures with regards to authorization of payments. So, these are simple things. I mean, very, very simple things. And if they have not been abiding with the rules, then it's easy to pick up the evidence and go after it. That's beyond mischief in public office. It's beyond that. It's fraud. You cannot just instruct a CEO to do A, B, and C. And the CEO, the responsibility lies on the CEO. If he does not agree with it, resign. Resign. He should not be or be very firm and say, sorry, I can't do it. Now, I understand the CEO of CPEP asked the former minister to put it in writing, which the minister refused. So that's a good sign um, that you have asked for it in writing. Then why did you proceed not having it in writing? So he has to accept responsibility for the actual illegitimate contracts and so on. And I think Minister Pararat already said that several of the rental contracts were not even signed. There are no contracts. So why not do an audit very quickly of what real estate is really required by the government, and those are in excess is to cancel it and get rid of it. Get rid of it. Why do we still have? Sorry, I still haven't gotten over the cough. But why do we still have properties rented from Alwari and family? And they're so bold faced to say it's not me, it's my wife. I beg your pardon. It's my wife's family, and we are paying
Welcome, Mr.
millions of dollars.
One second. Welcome, Mr. Suman Singh. Suman's in the house.
I
Yeah,
Rich.
hi, Suman. Hi.
I hope you're feeling better.
I'm feeling a little better, but my throat is acting up still.
Okay, okay,
Terrible cough.
right. Yeah,
And I try to get away from the rain, but I have some loose ends to wrap up on the estate. So
right,
every
right.
now and then I still get a drizzle on my head. So probably that has prolonged it unnecessarily.
Yeah, think I'm getting this simple, so I've got a cup of hot tea.
That's a good idea. But my wife is not here. Normally she'll make it for me. I have a cup of water.
Any topic this evening we continuing on? Gary? Anything?
Yeah, Gary was talking about the corruption with the past administration, the question of unauthorized expenditures and so on. And it's a massive amount. It's a massive amount. And whilst a lot of people are not getting paid, the farmers are not being paid. Why? Why aren't the farmers being paid? What
Yes.
the government has to do is to age all the payables. Now, Dr. Farrell, I don't know if you all recall, but
Yeah.
probably it was last year, um, he announced it and he said government do have a ledger for payables. So how are you managing a 50, $60 billion enterprise without a list of payables?
Yeah, not what's the aging on it like? What are short term, medium term, long term, and what are the amount due immediately? So
Right,
the papers become your number one prerogative given what the purchases were made. Like you don't want to mess up your, let's say, your medication part of it because
right.
you run afoul of your suppliers. You
That's
know,
correct.
important things you got to classify and break down and say what must be paid like yesterday, what is to be today, next week, and so on. So you get an idea of what the expenditure patterns will be like proceeding over the next 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, as the case may be. And God forbid you don't have a balloon payment coming up at the end of the year, which you do not know about, or which the PNM was hiding along the way, or something like that. Then it all a massive surprise. So these things, as I said from the beginning, you need to have a good forensic accounting done on as far as government monies goes. And don't let public servants and these people do that. I don't have no faith and trust. I know that in 2010, Deloitte
Hmm.
was the one who did it. And it took them
Hmm.
about 3 months.
Hmm.
So
Mhm.
when you have public servants doing it, it's limited to their capacity. One, and you don't know where their allegiance lies, so it can hide figures and corrupt figures and so on.
Well, I think that that exercise is so urgent because when you're taking over an organization, you do all your due diligence up front and make sure that you understand the economics, the accounting, because later on, after 6 months or 1 year, you can't say, look, we overlooked A, B, and C. So,
Correct.
I think I'm not too sure what work the Ministry of Finance are doing, but hopefully, I think they've been well advised that they need to do that forensic audit up front. And you're correct, Suman. It needs an external party to actually bring a fresh view to things and classify things accordingly.
Yeah, that's why they have external audit. I mean, I work as a financial controller here for 12 years in Miami Beach, and I could tell you every year you have to get an external audit going for your board of directors.
That is
Yes.
true.
In this case, the board of directors is the government.
That's
So,
correct.
you need to have that, and not only done your audit done, but it's done and certified and signed off. So you delineate any sort of liability going forward.
That's
So
correct. So I don't know how far they reach in that exercise, but the budget is due, I think, in September. So it just gives them a few weeks again, to sort these things out because you don't want to go into a budget um, having misinformation as the basis for your projections.
correct, correct,
You
correct.
know, so
You,
the question of payables is more important than receivables. Of course, you
yes,
want to prepare your receivables as well, but the payables are are more important. The only thing that is, I would say, protecting the government is that suppliers who are owed by the government, they tend not to bring legit, what you call legislate, or bring put the government in court for it because they know that they will lose out on future contracts and so on.
and
But
not
I
only
think
that,
this,
not only that, with sorry to cut you across it. Normally,
no, no,
they are what's known as bonded contractors. So you have to buy from them, and that
okay,
generally their prices are like 50, 60, 70% more than the current market prices. So they
mm,
buffer themselves like that. And
yes,
then we
yes,
we ask why a piece of lumber and that particular bonding contractor is $20 when I could pay $10 in the open market for it. So there's a reason why that is done, that continuity of the supply. They want send a guy for three pieces of wood right away, and so on. So you don't have to reinvent the process of going and getting three quotes and sending it through the accounting channels. By the time it reaches the PS, a month has gone, and you need
yes.
three pieces of lumber tomorrow morning. So these things are what's called the bonded contractors. They got their monies and they got a decent profit. They just have to wait for it.
Mm. But that's a very expensive way of doing business.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Super expensive. I remember they were putting some price on doors on a property, on a government property, and the doors were, when you hear the prices, it's unbelievable.
yeah,
Just for the doors, um, that's the price for credit. So, but this is where you can have some sort of fairly, I would say, contingency cash, petty cash, available for the
yes,
small items.
correct, absolutely
Yeah.
correct. And I could give you a good example. I was the director of tourism in Tobago, so I purchased things from a particular hardware. So I said, you know what, I need a change the part of my roof. So the guy quoted me $30 a square foot for galvanized. That's 22 years ago.
Oh
22
my.
years ago. So he said, "Oh, I thought you buying it for the ministry." I said, "No,
Oh my. Oh
$30
my.
a foot,
Yeah, yeah.
for galvanized. That is what you charge the government. when I can
So,
buy that for like $12, I put in 2002.
Excuse me, 1 second, gentlemen. There seems to be Dr. Mulinal is on location. There seems to be a large fire at Ramco. Just posting the information
That's
there.
in
Uh,
Sando by Cross Crossing.
yeah, so Dr. Munilal is on the location. Let's see here. Yeah, that's what to say, where he's at right now on location with the firefighters there. Um, so I was trying, I'm trying to see if I can get him to talk to us for about 5 minutes, but you guys can continue talking. Uh,
Yes. I think that's the main filling the LPG tanks, if I'm not mistaken, the 20 pound and 100 pound cylinders there.
yeah, it's a sad case, and I'm sure they would have had all the safety measures in place and being inspected regularly. So I hope it's not sabotage.
You know,
But
and yeah, you're right, but I don't know. These don't hang around close by there. Should these tanks just decide to shoot up in the air, they
yeah,
they have a lot of explosive power in them because I mean it's basically compressed gas inside. Anyway, as we were speaking before, these bonded contractors, they know they will not, forsake the government. They will hang in there because that 50%, 75% buffer, it buffers them for late payment and inflation. And if one next day have to buy inventory or goods again, that
yes,
that covers them. So we may think it's unfair. Well, from the eyes of the public who don't know how it is unfair, but the government can save a lot of money if it just operates on a petty cash basis to buy these things today for tomorrow. You get the material right away and you pay right away and you save that 60 or 70% markup. So,
yeah.
there's a
So,
lot.
no, so man, I'm not worried about the regular suppliers because they would have their procedure and process and so on in place. But somebody just trying to break into the government to supply things, and it doesn't have to be building materials, but other supplies,
Right.
and they're
Yes,
not
yes.
being paid. Now, there are instances, I don't know if you recall, one of the corporations were put in liquidation, actually put in liquidation, by a contractor. I don't know if you,
I
I don't
remember
know if you remember that case.
how long ago that was
It
that.
was in South. It was a good few years now. And
Okay.
they went and pick up all the furniture and so on, so it's very embarrassing. So it wasn't central government. It was one of the corporations who, depending on government for money and not getting it and not, in fact, they run so low in funds, sometimes they cannot buy diesel,
Yes, correct, correct. And
so,
you
and
can, as I
government
say,
could be selective who they starve.
yes, and as I say, you can be cash rich and dirt poor at the same time. It all depends on the cash flow. So
Yes,
it's
yes.
not how many assets you have and or how many liabilities in the short term, but rather it it's always on your cash flow.
But
Ability
this,
to
this is
generate.
why the ministry has to prepare a rolling cash flow.
Yes,
And all the ministries now, the minister of finance will coordinate all of that from all the other ministries. So as you rightly said, you don't have a bunching problem. You don't have a bunching problem.
and
A
that is the
sudden,
best way to really do it in at least in this first year
yes,
because government gets a breathing space to really um, do and proper budget next time around, not this time around, because you don't know the cash position, and you don't want to be in a position 6 months or 8 months from now say, oh my gosh, we forgot this, we forgot to take up this liability, and here's it at 1.5 billion. Where is that? How come you guys missed that? This kind of way.
Correct.
So
Correct. Correct.
how can you do that shortfall when you don't know the facts as yet? You know,
Correct. Correct.
and as you delve into the various ministries, you're seeing the massive corruption that has been taking place, and funds are really not accounted for. Who knows this, like the CPAP thing, for example, 1.5.
Mhm.
Where would that come from? Where did that money go? Well,
Yeah,
these
that's it.
these are issues, and unless you set the stage by, God forbid, you have to jail people and so on, get the recoup your expenditure, or uh, and not only politicians, but those who are really responsible for the accounting mess this government has find itself in.
Yeah, that's true.
These technocrats and these accountants and these permanent secretaries and assistant permanent secretaries and AO5 and AO4 and so on. All these, they all colluded because,
Hmm.
generally, if you're the accounting process, I work in an accounting process. I can tell you, I know the process, government accounting, well as private accounting. So I'm a certified accounting executive. I can tell you where the problem lies. The
Yes. Yes.
problem lies upon the lower level staff getting instructions from above.
That's correct. Because
You
they're
see,
they're well qualified people
oh
in the
yeah,
ministry.
very qualified. Someone like
Highly qualified.
ACCA and ACCA and so on, who have been working with government accounting
Mhm.
specifically for a number of years. So they are smart people. They know
Yes.
they know the drill. Now, the head of the accounting department is the permanent secretary, not
Yes.
the accounting executive, not the accounting executive two, not the director of finance. It is the permanent secretary. So when
Mhm.
instructions come from you, hey, to pass and approve this payment for so and so project, you got to do it
Yes.
as a lower level staff. As you know, you're not going to get any sort of appraisal. When you have time for your appraisal coming, and the permanent secretary is the one who does your appraisal, depending on the level of staff you are, at. So you are in a monkey pants. What do you do? Do you flag this as an irregular payment, or do you just to keep your job, security going? Let me do what I'm told, and
Mhm.
it goes through the pipeline, lower level, middle level, upper level, and finally the PM. So all these people are involved in these things. So when you're asking them to do a report for you, you got to
Mhm.
be careful of those figures,
Mhm.
especially if they were siding with the previous government. You got to really be very take that with a grain of salt.
But,
I would say. So we
but
really
just,
don't
just,
know.
someone just to clarify for me, um, what role the minister has in approving payments for checks and so on? What
Zero,
role?
zero,
Nothing.
nothing. He
Um,
asked the permanent secretary, "Hey, look, would like to buy these 20,000 computers. Apply for the funds through the Ministry of Finance. It projected cost in the vicinity of $50 to $60 million.
yeah.
Go ahead and write the Minister of Finance. No, sorry, write the PS in the Ministry of Finance to get that funds transferred into that particular ministry, where it's, in this case, Ministry of Education, for example, gets that.
Right.
Now,
So,
if it's an annual thing, then you
yeah.
budget for the next year.
Okay. But My understanding is, with regards to CPAP, I heard people are saying that it had to be approved by cabinet or something like that.
Yes,
What
that's any sort of expenditure has to be approved by cabinet through what's called a cabinet note. So
also,
when
so the PS,
a
the
cabinet
PS would be
a
okay
cabinet note is prepared by the permanent secretary
by
or
the
her
permanent
or
secretary.
right
Okay,
and forwarded to the minister, and the minister takes it to cabinet. They would have had preliminary discussions and so on it before you get
right,
the cabinet note. So, example, in the case again of the laptop project, the the minister will take that note to cabinet, and everybody is aware of that. That was one of the deliverables in the platform. There
right.
has
So
so every
the
has to take
minister
of
would
education.
actually the minister would actually look at it and query it and make sure because he's signing off the note or
No,
the
no, no,
note.
no. The minister does not have no say. He does not do anything with the note. It's prepared by the permanent secretary. There's a format for doing these things.
Okay,
So it has to be written in a certain language. For example, cabinet approval is being sought for the purchase of, like, a little background of it, and then you do the context. The context is like these laptops will be used for distribution to the 4 month students, blah blah blah, and teachers as well, and administrative staff. And then as you go down the in the note itself, funds for this purchase of $55 million will be subject. They give them the head and the subhead and the item where this expenditure will take place.
right.
So
So
formal.
that I assume would have been approved within the overall national budget. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, but in this case, these are what you call immediate things to do because school is open in September,
Oh, I
which
see.
is
I
barely a
see.
month a month from now. So they're
Okay.
gonna, you know, prioritize how they're going to use the available funds in the national coffers.
Right. So let's say at the Minister of Finance level, Ministry of Finance, they
Yeah.
say they don't have the funds for so much. They can do probably 70% or 50%.
Okay.
At what point is there a discussion on that?
Okay, gentlemen, one second. I have a voice note from Dr. Munilal. I'm going to try to play it. Hold on a second here.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me see if I get it back together. Hold on a second. I'm going to raise the. Men. Hold on. Let me start over. Get this over. All right, good. I can confirm that there was an incident, a fire incident at the Ramco Industries Limited, Union Hall, San Fernando, in the constituency of Arapuch East. I visited the scene. It was a fire blaze that took place around 7:05 p.m. tonight, the 24th of July. I visited and was met by the owners of the establishment, the Rahman family, Mr. Imtiaz Rahman and other members of the family. I received a briefing from the fire services and from the police on the scene. It appears that it was a fire that erupted in an area, a particular area in the compound, but thankfully it was confined to a particular area, and the fire service acted. We are informed quite professionally and had adequate resources to extinguish the blaze and get the blaze under control with both water and foam. And it has been under control there. Regrettably, 4 employees have been injured. They have been taken to the San Fernando General Hospital. We understand 2 may be serious, and we are monitoring that in collaboration with the health authorities. And Minister Lakram Bodo himself was informed and gave a report on this matter as well. We expect that they will get the best medical help that is needed at this time. We want to say that the families and the injured men are of deep concern to us, and they're in our prayers for speedy recovery from this really tragic incident.
Tomorrow we'll receive a report from the preliminary report from the fire services, and the OSH agency will also be activated to conduct their statutory duties in circumstances like these. As the population may know that Ramco Industries is a significant supplier of LPG in the market in Trinidad and Tobago. And we, from the standpoint of the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, we also have a concern with that matter. But our overriding concern now is with the human beings, with the employees, to ensure that they get the best care in the circumstances and recover fully from this incident. I just want to compliment the fire services and all officers of law enforcement who were present on a very professional job. And we'll continue to monitor the situation as it relates to Ramco. And of course, we will be in touch and working with the health authorities and so on, and the Ministry of Health to monitor the condition of the injured employees.
All right, gentlemen, go ahead.
Mhm.
Well, at least it's good to know that the situation is under control, and the those who have been injured are in the hospital seeking medical attention. So that's pleasing to know that. Um, yeah, but as we were saying, the minister now will take this note, and if there are not sufficient funds available, they
Yeah.
will still get their overriding approval for the entire amount.
Yes.
But use the funds which are available at this specific point in
Hmm.
time. For example, if the cost is $55 million and they only have $35 million, you will get the approval for 55 million, but you will spend 35 million, and when you have money, you'll use the other 20 million
I see. Okay.
to procure. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. But in
Yeah.
this case, normally they do short-term drawdowns and overdraft. The governments they give because these things are in local currency. So
Hmm.
this is really not a problem. Um, the June quarter, as far as rents go and so on, rents meaning royalties, would have had some inflows of cash.
Hmm.
And from the June to September quarter, it depends when it's paid. These are all companies that think they pay at the very first week of the quarter or something.
Hmm.
So that there would have been some cash inflows, but the challenge is like when Dr. Bodo went to the Ministry of Health, you have 550 something million outstanding in payables right away.
So this is what.
So
So they need.
again, it comes back to the same thing. It's a payables is what's going to strangle you. And
Yes.
you cannot
Yes.
afford not to pay or delay that payment as the suppliers who supplying the medication.
Mm.
You begin
Yes.
to become like a bad debt player in the market. So you don't want to run afoul with that and deliberately use whatever wholesale discounts and so on, which you may be getting along the
Hmm.
way, or let's say you have built up a good credit rating with that particular company, maybe you get a preferential rate, but now that you run afoul of your payments, you end up
Yes.
paying full price. And that's a challenge. We don't know these things. Nobody knows because nobody gets the information. The public doesn't get the information.
No, no, we don't. We don't. That I think there's urgency now in terms of working out the list of payables. Um, for the simple reason, government has been using payables as a source of financing, right?
Yes.
And I think one of the UNC senators had mentioned that we owe VAT refund of around $7 billion. Now, VAT refund, my understanding, is due immediately. It's a short term.
Hmm.
So the question now is, hopefully they don't trigger any legal action against the government. But the government takes cognizant of it, and probably within a few months or within a year start whittling that down. I think at one point they were thinking about issuing bonds
Yes,
as part settlement, which is not a bad idea.
correct,
Um, but
correct.
but it just kicks the can down the road, because you still have to pay the bond.
Yeah, well, all you do is deferring the payment down the road, but that's okay. I mean, it's better you get something than you get nothing. That
Yeah.
was all. That was 1986. The same thing happened with
Mhm.
respect to back pay and so on for public servants. We had to take some
Mm.
of the arrears of payment in the form of bonds and so on. Um, it is a strategy, it is a method. You will think that, well, I didn't lose my job and my back pay is in bonds. Let us say it matures in 10 years or 15 years down the road. I will think of it as a savings. Um, but at least I have my job. And I
Yeah.
think,
Well,
think that this government may have to, if the situation is worse than what we expect, they have to convince these, the 50,000 or so public servants, how are we going to do or how are we going to meet this challenge? Can we take 5% this year, 5% next year, 5% the third year, and so on? I
well,
pay
well,
some cash now and some with the rest in bonds. You don't
yeah.
know.
I think this is where it's so important, Suman, that the government comes out with a statement on the financial affairs of government, financial affairs of Trinidad. So that we all on the same page. We're all on the same page. Um, they may require some kinds of sacrifice from on top, because you can't just implement hardship on the normal population. But I
And
think
then,
most
yeah, go
most
ahead.
important. Sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 you go ahead.
No, I said
Beg
most important is for the government and for us to start looking at creating sustainable jobs outside of government. Outside now, I would tell you, they've never been reluctant. If you look at the port, they've never been reluctant to take some voluntary separation.
you.
In fact, in fact, in fact, with regards to the port, I think within 10 years they did it about 3 times. If you look at Caribbean Airlines and BV, they did it about 3 times as well. The
Yes.
problem with that, the problem with that is that those fellows who took the separation, they got rehired.
Yes,
So
I know. Yeah. So it's a
so
win-win. They are in a win-win position.
that's correct. That's
Yeah,
correct.
and that is the difficulty which we'll run up against. But then again, I stress in the point: how authentic or how accurate are the figures we're going to get from the Ministry of Finance that this is the current situation. Our liabilities are this, our payables are that, this is the cash flow right now, this is the amount of cash in hand, and so on. What are our payments due? Understand in 2028, which is just 3 years down the road, there's a large balloon payment is going to happen.
Yeah,
Where are we going to get these things from? Then we have, of course, the public servants, starting a 10% wage increase. What are the strategies you're going to? Are you going to borrow funds to pay wages? I don't know. That is always a tricky question, and a lot of people will condemn it. To borrow money to pay wages, recurrent, because it's something. In this case, is wages past due. You
that's
know,
correct.
wages
So
past due. Yeah.
no, so these are important. I think challenges that the government is going to face, and they have to be very careful how they manage and tread very carefully, to ensure stability, societal stability, and so on. But I think there are certain strategies they can adopt, and
Correct.
another apart from the payables, they should be very focusing now on establishing a list of assets, that they have. Now, it doesn't make sense. The government has assets that are idle that can be converted, monetized, and to pay off some of the obligations, you know. So these are things government has to take a holistic approach, very much like a company, and say, what assets do we need really to ensure good governance? Do we need as well in terms of cost cutting exercises? Um, do we need in today's age? Do we need an embassy in each country? 190 countries. I don't know how many embassies we have, but do we really need it in today's age of electronic communications and you know there are different ways of getting our country represented in any other country.
Yeah. That's true. But you know, we could start that same thing at home. Why do you have to rent these big high-rise apartments from, as you say when you introduce the discussion tonight, to to landlords who at exorbitant prices? Why we can't work out of home, most of us from, let's say, south or certain areas? You save that desk space, you save electricity, you save, and policeman rents are the highest in the land. See, you have to come up with creative ways to get this done. Again, the technology is there. Why can't we centralize things? Ship owners, Cuba, Sando. Why do you have to pay the most expensive rent, in Alexander Street for these offices? Bring a lot of people from south and the east, traffic on both
Yeah, but
sides. This is being creative with their solutions. And you see, the overall thinking of the government has to change and change quickly. If you're going to start to save some funds to pay more your liabilities in more urgent areas. You cannot, how can, if you don't do that, next thing you're started to run low on drugs and medication,
that's correct. The
right?
basics.
You'll
Yeah.
start to run low on school grants, books
Mm.
and uniform grants and laptops, and these are, and then again, how are you going to pay public servants? Eventually, these people will start agitating in a year or two or 6 months from now. We don't know. And you have to level with the population, get your PR and communications department, get the representative of the labor unions and so on. You have to get them on board, let them understand, let them inform their employees. Because 6 months from now or 3 months from now, you may still not know what is your current cash position is, and these people start to agitate. So it's a very challenging situation. Uh,
Wh-
it can lead to borrowings. Borrowings is not bad if it's local currency, of course, um, but in a way, you have to try to kickstart the economy at the same time. Now, if they start to pay these people their VAT refunds, at least the small and medium-sized businesses can, start to
Mhm.
grow gradually, ramp up their production and so on, and get that side of the economy buzzing around a little bit. But
Yeah.
that may be a priority need right now, because a lot of things, small guys have closed down shop and so on. And
Yep. Businesses, many businesses who are not being paid by government, they're actually looking to close up and do something else, you know, or cut their losses. And so
yeah,
that change is taking place. That change is taking place. I think what is lacking is that what alternatives are being created by government, and this is where government has to focus to see what other alternatives are available to entrepreneurs. Now, I heard the Minister of Agriculture did say within 5 years, they want to increase the contribution of agriculture to GDP from 2% to 5%. That's fine.
Yes, that's
We need
good.
to do that. Secondly, to drop the import of food, which is 7.3 billion, by 1 billion, I think. I hope he said two, but I recall one.
But in
Um,
what time frame?
in 5 years, but my
Oh,
feeling is we should
oh,
be more aggressive.
yes,
We have to
but
be more aggressive because tomorrow, if the world trade routes are disrupted, and that's a high potential, where
yes.
where where do we fit into that picture? Samantha, Gary, we are importing, according to one of
Geographical,
the
yes, yes.
we
The
Samantha, we are
geopolitical space is very, very, you
I,
know.
I strongly feel that we should make this food production a very high priority.
And then again, you see, I don't like these kind of speeches. This is just a talk. To put these things in practice, you have to identify what needs to be done to save us that $1 billion, and what measures are you going to take, and say by next year we're going to cut, save 500 million the following year, like that you go along. But when you just say it at the top of your head without having the data to say, well, you know what, we're going to increase orange juice production by X amount of dollars because we have 30,000 orange trees to plant, and we have 2,000 acres to plant it in, like that. So you begin to tie back that deliverable to something concrete. Just don't say that, yeah, food production will be, we hoping to decrease it by $1 billion in the next 5 years. No,
well,
not
you're correct.
anybody can say anything.
In,
Anybody can
in,
say
all-
anything.
in all fairness to the minister, he did not disclose a strategy, but that's the obvious question. What is your strategy? Now, I agree with you because it sort of invites a lot of speculation. How are you going to do it? So at the same time, you're talking that these are the objectives and these are our strategies to do it. Take you less than 2 minutes to say that, you
Correct.
know. So my feeling, look, to reduce import of food, which includes alcohol and the finer arts of wine and so on, which that is not my area of expertise. So we can see all that we're importing and perhaps put some negative listing on it. We don't have to have things because our priority is to survive and then grow, stabilize and then grow. So we need to stabilize very fast. We can't keep borrowing because when you keep borrowing, I made this point. I was invited at UNC uh, um, uh, pre-budget presentation in Port of Spain,
Nice,
and
nice.
I made the point that over the last 10 years, the economy declined by 20% in real terms. However, since 2010, when UNC took over, our bank debt, not total debt, our bank debt was 45 billion. It ended in 2015 at 75, and then the last government took it from 75 to 150. So
Whoa.
just imagine a household income dropped by 20% and the debt increased 300%. So that's the situation we are in. Now people say once you're government, you could borrow indefinitely. Probably on local currency, which just creates a tremendous amount of inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we have to be careful with regards to borrowing because if a government cannot have to borrow to pay interest, or if anyone has to borrow to pay interest, that is just not acceptable. I mean, for 1 year, 2 years, and you turn around, it's fine. But indefinitely, I was listening to some news. France had 50 years of consecutive deficit. How are these countries existing? How are they existing? Do you know the UK has the highest debt to GDP in the world?
Yes, I know that. Stammer, this guy,
China,
they
China, so man, China has been hiding it, but do you know their major sectors are just crashing? one
Yeah,
after the
yeah,
next.
I'm aware. I follow these development economies every day in the international news, the geopolitical news. At the same time, India is growing at 5.7% annually as far as GDP goes. So how you begin to see compare the US to Europe to UK to China in the geopolitical world, there are certain. It all depends on your news source, what you're listening to, and I always take it with a grain of salt.
You
Uh,
do, but on balance, you listen to all sides, and
yeah,
you,
all
as
sides,
an
correct.
individual, you come up with your own judgment. But
Yes.
let me make this point, Suman. Let me make this point, Gary. If we are importing, one report I saw by an international agency or so, Trinidad is importing 94% of its food requirement. Okay, we live in a very volatile world today. Shouldn't that be number one priority to reduce that to below 50% in within 1 year, within 5 years? Sorry, we have a 5 year time frame. Reduce now. Saudi Arabia and most of that country is desert. They're self-sufficient in food now that they're exporting. Israel produces 90%, 90 some percent of its food. So why we in Trinidad, with all our good climate, we have a tremendous amount of grass. Just buy about 300 goats, 300,000 goats, and let it go in the country. So we have all the resources to be self-sufficient in food. Dr. Samaru, you know Dr. Samaru, right?
Yeah, I know him very
Right.
well.
He was
Brinsley.
giving a lecture. He was giving a lecture one day, and he said during the war, when the was it the U-9 or something? That's the German U-boats, right?
Yeah, U-boats.
U-boats, right? The submarines and so on. When it was cruising the Caribbean, we
Yes,
couldn't get him food to import.
absolutely.
And
Up
within a 2 years time frame, how long was the war? About 4 years, I'm not
four to
sure.
5 years. 4 to 5 years.
4, 5. Yeah, within that period, we were self-sufficient in food.
But I'll tell you
So
what. Let me give you a story with
tell
my
me.
dad. We had a grocery supermarket. And then all of a sudden, in 1939, my dad was telling me the story that he
Uh-huh.
bought rice land. And the same situation, food was just rationing and so on. People are given ration cards to buy like
Yes,
salt and
yes,
sugar. I don't know about that, but he always told me the story. He says you could see the people in Port of Spain, they come down and in the lagoon and rabbit in the lagoon, all these so-called white people taking up the pumpkin and the tomato, which are leaving the land as rotting, and they was taking that. They
yes.
were taking that. And his my dad boastful criteria is that we had rice stock for 4 years.
Look at that.
Four
Look at
years
that.
rice stock in 4 years time for 4 years to last, so that if the position gets worse, you'll eat marrow and rice and salt or whatever the
Yeah,
situation was
exactly.
at that time. That was his perception of how he solved the problem. And that was, I mean, thinking at that level, it's a pity we don't get some of these current people to do these things who are big economists like myself and so on. And I would tell my dad, hey, you don't need to do that. We could buy the rice. Or they say you don't know because of the war. That is his experience. That when he saw these things, that you have the money but you don't have the food.
Exactly. Exactly the point I've been making for the last 10 years. If you run out of foreign exchange, right, you can't say, you can't buy sugar, but we could grow it and make it. So let us start doing that now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's cheaper abroad. But if you don't have the foreign exchange, what's the point of it being cheaper or expensive? You just don't have the foreign
But
exchange.
you see the thing about it. I like to reiterate that that is not in the best interest of certain people in the country.
That's correct as well,
All right,
Gary.
and
You're
that would make
absolutely
so people economically wealthy if they go that route. So the objective was to suppress certain people,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
they think they were smart, but they outsmart the country and cause the country to suffer, because if these certain people was able to proceed with what they intended to do, the country would have been a hell of a lot in a better place. And we are facing challenges in the world that anything could happen, natural or unnatural disasters, wars, and things like that. And you've seen the situation in the Middle East. So, I mean, it's in our best interest now that we have our government there, but our government must be very forceful and in pushing forward this mass food production and allocating the necessary resources to pick up the pace, because we are like 100 light years behind in the production that we should be. But go ahead, gentlemen.
Yeah.
No, that is so true. I mean, why can't we be self-sufficient in rice, milk, and sugar, and tomatoes, vegetables, and all of that? Look, Barbados, they banned the importation of certain items like chicken and so on. But we have to go further. We have to
Yeah.
go further, and I keep making the point that the foreign content of our chicken and eggs is very high. And what makes it high for the chicken is we import all the feed, but we can grow the feed here. We can grow the feed here.
But
Carry me at one point.
I see it in another angle where we fail to really promote our goods and services overseas, because we could be exporting more than we importing.
that's
But
that's
that again benefits certain category of people, and the PNM don't want that. So we have to make sure that we keep the PNM out of government and be smart on how we operate ourselves. And but in the first 5 years, we have to really pick up the pace, far as I see, in investing in this agricultural industry and the infrastructure surrounding it.
you're quite
No,
right.
I think
You
we,
know,
we are such. Sorry, go ahead, Suman.
yeah, Gary, you're quite right. But then again, you know that the PNM government practices this
Yeah,
geographic
yeah, but still, I mean,
discrimination.
who vets? They did whatever they damn well please, and whether it who it hurt. So we had to operate the same way. Put more money than the usual into the agricultural industry.
Yeah, so the policy makers and those in charge have to realize these things and support, the initiatives of the people. So just talking wouldn't make sense. Just, at this stage, it's good to inform the people what your plans are. But I like to see that they go a little further and say, this is how we intend to do it in year one, year two, year three, year four, because planting something doesn't generate things not before 6 months. You will not really impact.
Mhm.
Certain crops, take at least 3 months to 6 months, and if the weather is bad like it is now, you cannot plant things and expect good harvest because of the rains and so on. Certain crops you need to basically plant in the dry season or just approaching the dry season and so
Yeah,
on. So
Suman, let me make a point. We are blessed with a lot of rainfall, 70, 80 inches, right?
yes.
It's seasonal, we agree. So we're running into floods and drought, not a problem. But do you know all the undulating lands from, let's say, Kuva go down south?
Hmm.
It is very easy to build holding ponds in
Oh yeah.
between. Very
Yes.
easy to build holding ponds, right? Now, that holding pond will give you, I built two holding ponds in my estate. So that gives you water throughout the year. So, simple things can be done. Now, the Indian High Commission, when um, Prime Minister Modi came, I think he has committed about 300 million US dollars to Trinidad, for different projects. So I think there's so much can be done if you ask India for help. For example, I'll give you an example. If we say we want to be self-sufficient in rice, sugar, milk over the next 5 years, I think we can get investors from India to actually bring the technology. We have a good bit of the technology, but bring the technology, bring the processing plants. We'll provide the land, we'll provide the labor, and there's a bit of training and a joint venture between India and the Trinidad government and get it started.
Yes.
One of the things that kept the sugar industry alive for so long was a guaranteed market at a guaranteed price.
Mm-hmm.
So if government could fit into that role and say, okay, we will give a guaranteed market and a guaranteed price. Now, it's not a case where government is going to buy out all the tomatoes and leave it to rot or try to sell it in its form, but rather they have to process that now. Indian government has just donated a processing plant. I don't know what it does, but the processing plant can actually can these tomatoes. So similarly with other agricultural products. But you're correct. I think the minister has to come out more with a plan then, a plan of action. Do not worry about it's going to cost us so much cheaper to import. We are not concerned about that. We are concerned about, and this is the priority, immunizing ourselves, ensuring security of supply, immunizing ourselves from international vagaries, volatility with regard to supply of these things and the price volatility. So it has to be developed within a framework that everyone is comfortable with. I I agree fully with Gary that the establishment who import grab onto a scarce foreign exchange and import, they're not going to give up. But if with this majority in government, if we don't have the courage to do anything, then we might as well surrender.
Correct.
Might as well surrender.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, you know, there are certain priorities that I'm sure they would have had their planning and so on already done before they enter into government,
Yes, yes,
right? And
hopefully.
that planning would have been, this would have been our approach to deal with this situation. Albeit now they don't have the funding and so on, but they should have known or at least be aware that what the situation is, because that was what they inherited the last time around in 2010. So they will have known from experience, you know, we don't expect anything significant as
Yes,
far
yes,
as assets and cash go. We have to kind of start scraping the barrel, so to speak. But they should have had some plans for everything, for health, education, crime, and so on, beforehand, knowing fully well
yeah,
that,
yeah,
these are the low hanging fruits. In the first year, we'll tackle this like this. Second year, third year. By the time the third, fourth year comes, we should be swinging. A lot of things should have happened by that time. Now, just saying things, it it creates, is it's not something not pleasant. Just saying things,
hmm,
because it just mirroring what the last government was doing.
yes, yes,
Come with a plan to show that you can account for what you this is you have a plan with a strategy, and you have a plan with some tactics. How are you going to achieve that 1 billion in savings, let's say in 1 year, and the next year you could achieve that more?
that's
So
correct,
by the time year 5, instead of your import bill is over 7 billion, now it's $2 billion.
correct.
And that way, in that way, now your population is a little more comfortable. You would have saved a lot of foreign exchange. A lot of people would have earned better livelihoods by reaping
Yes,
and harvesting and selling there. And some
correct,
of them may have been processing some things along the way. Then the continuity of supply, that is so important. Hey, when you have tomato at $2 and you have it at $20, well, it's a juggling act. You do your things accordingly. Let's stabilize it at $6 or $5 a pound throughout the year,
correct,
as the
correct,
case
so
may be.
correct.
Now, there are a lot of, what would I say, little factories around the world. If you go to Israel, you will realize that
Hmm.
Um, I was costing one for 5 million TT dollars,
Right.
and that will handle all the milk supply we can produce in Trinidad. All
Hmm.
milk,
Hmm.
peanut pans, yogurt, all dairy related things. That
Correct.
one
Correct.
five
Correct.
million. You can get a little cooperative to do that, you know, and handle all the milk production with all the ancillary products generated from milk, starting from the clarified butter going down the road. But nothing is wasted. And that same that same little factory doing the same thing with coconuts, dry
Yes.
coconuts, making the oil, making the whatever byproducts you get from losing the kernel, the husk, even the husk, using it
Yes.
for fertilizer.
Yes. Yes.
Nothing is thrown away. Basically, nothing is thrown away. That same plant is doing the same thing for juices. Mangoes and mango in season. We have 8 mango trees home by us, but we see
Yes.
5 of the mangoes rotten and falling on the ground. Nobody, that's it. It's
True.
wasted.
True. That is
Cherry,
so true.
cherries,
That
and if
is
you
so.
Tobago, it's the same thing. All the side of the road, you just drive along and all it's down the hill, side of the road, you see all the mangoes and cherries and all these plums. And
Yeah. Yeah.
the thing is that same machinery is used to extract the juices, and you could tie these things. Once people know that, hey, you know what, my sour cherry tree is juices can be made high in vitamin C. Why you don't give the school feeding children that to drink? You know, and tie these things backward chain it. As they say, backward chain it into other savings or productive areas. The school
Oh,
feeding
there,
program, for
there,
example, can use basically a lot of our output in the agricultural sector. Yeah.
you
So
know, Suman, that, and I keep telling people, we don't have to do any research and development. That has been done throughout the world. We just have to scout the world and see what industries we can just copy, that we can just, but this is where it requires a bit of foresight. There will be a little pain in terms of changes, but so what? It's change for the better for the overall citizens of the country. Government will have to play its part in terms of incentives and tax
yeah,
incentives and so on. But
yeah.
by and large, Trinidad is well poised to see growth in a very sustainable manner and putting people back to work. Put
And
people back to work.
yes,
We have over probably 3 or 400,000 cars going into Port of Spain. Port of Spain is a cost center. They produce nothing.
and the high cost center at that,
A very high cost center. And I'm saying when I go into Port of Spain and see all these buildings, what is going to sustain it?
you know,
What is going to sustain it?
that
So
where I don't know, I've been traveling a lot in Europe, all over Europe, and in
mm,
Netherlands in
We have
particular.
to focus on decentralization, and we have to do it within this
Yeah,
5 years. We have to structure it so strongly that they can't break it.
the
you
thing is,
know,
okay,
Gary, sorry, you were saying, Suman, go ahead.
yeah, I strongly believe what we are seeing the whole agriculture sector. But do you know the Oropoch Lagoon is in the vicinity or borders 4 UNC constituencies? It's in the
Uh-huh.
middle of that.
Hmm.
If you go to Netherlands, and I've been there 2 3 times, and you could see what they do with as far as farming goes.
Hmm.
These are quick wins, simple solutions. Because what happened in there, and the last time I know I drive around and see what things we can develop and so on. A certain level of saltwater grasses had penetrated the lagoon areas,
Hmm.
and that is because of faulty sluice gates.
Hmm.
So when salt water, and I when I go in Netherlands, I actually have a good friend there, and he was telling me that so we have the same problem there. You see the same
Mhm.
salt of the grass going in, because some places are 20 feet below sea level,
Mhm.
and what they do is that they dredge these, have proper sluice gates, and they do all the same things we were saying, retainer ponds and blah blah blah. In fact, they came a while back, many years ago, and did research in the Urupuch Lagoon, and they say about 6 feet from the surface, there is like a mat. A mat means of seagrasses.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But which vegetable requires 6 feet of soil?
No.
You go barely use the first 6 to 10 inches of soil is what most vegetables grow with.
Mhm.
So that that points to say that there's a mat below there that is immaterial,
Mhm.
right? So what they do, they dredge the land, they plant grasses. When they plant grasses
Mhm.
and the rain falls over 2 3 years, the salt is washed out
Uh-huh.
through leaching. It leaches out from the soil, and then you start to rear animals. Lots of cows. You see, go to the Netherlands, you see the biggest and most prettiest set of cows there. They are all milkers.
Mhm.
And the thing is that that is a double effect.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know, they suggested, and it's a grass that they particularly grow and plant there. It's called pangola.
Yes, I know the name.
That pangola grass, it produces so much milk in the cow.
Mhm.
The milkers,
Mhm.
as they term it there. The milkers. That means cows specifically bred to produce milk only.
Mhm.
And after 2 years now, the soil is leached. The soil becomes very fertile because of the manure generated from
Mhm.
all these cows. So in 5 years' time, check the amount of square miles or square acreage you can bring into production in 5 years' time.
Mhm. Mhm.
But you need to have a policy of
Yeah. What?
retaining well
Yeah.
ponds and so on, pumps, and these are low hanging fruits. This is what gets me. We have big technocrats and so on sitting in policy now, on central now, in agriculture. Some of them not reviewing the plans and the research which was done. I'm sure these plans are there gathering dust in some shelf, or if it's still there, I don't know. But these are short-term measures. You can start to initiate these things. You could imagine that area there is much, much bigger than all of Arangwes.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
the boat, it borders on 4 UNC constituencies right around.
Mhm.
Where, and I don't want to, tap the ministers and them too much, but one of them had the foresight to say, hey, let's create this is a way to create some employment to people.
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's correct.
and I always give you the example. I went to live in Arangwes, and I couldn't get a land to buy nowhere. I had to go in the farmlands
Mhm.
to buy land. It was $500,000 for a lot of land, 4 feet below the road level. I had to buy two. I bought two lots.
Yes. Yes.
4 feet below road level. I had to get like 200 truckloads of dirt to get it up the road level.
Huh.
But why did I buy it? Hey, the farmlands there are mostly bought out now by professional people,
Yes. Yes.
because you have to buy the land for cash.
Mhm.
Because of the estate land, it was zone agriculture. Banks don't lend you for agricultural land. So the whole policy shift.
Yes. Yes.
So what happened? A lot of professionals bought the land now because they saw that as the last bit of Alsane in the
Yes. Yes.
east-west corridor. So lands will become expensive based on that projection,
Mhm.
right? That's a limited supply. After this, that land is sold out. There's no more land in the east-west corridor
Mhm.
between the Churchill Roosevelt Highway and the Eastern Main Road. So let's grab it.
Mhm.
So that land now is owned mostly by professional people,
Mhm.
farmland. And if you think that is a quite a rich investment, well, you're able to double your money within 3 years' time.
Yes, yes.
So the point is, you have that large agriculture space there from Daybig, Woodland, Laramine, Urupooch, you know, San Francisco, Agbarches, St. John. Oh, it's a massive, massive area of land.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if you start to do exactly as the Dutch, as they do this poldering, as they say, the concept which is done in Netherlands, you will see
Mhm.
exactly how it's done. And in 5 years' time, you have fertile,
Mhm.
arable land, control, no flooding, because you have 5 years to sort these things out.
Mhm. Mhm.
The flooding, make sure you have the proper systems in place, and then you can start to zone it and so on. You set up your cooperatives. You just, or those who don't wish to do agriculture, just continue minding your sheep and goat and cows and so
Mhm.
on.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
thing is that very little expenditure is required for it. Plus, you're
Mhm.
setting up yourself exactly as what the minister may be thinking to reduce that food import bill. So I seen these things that you are saying the same thing, but in a different way. But I'm seeing
Mhm.
that these things will reap benefits down 3 and 4 years down the road. You know.
Yes, I think there's so much to be done because we are very low level now, very, very low level. Um, I don't think we can get worse than where we are now because farmers on their own, they are trying. One guy works with me. Sometimes he will plant cassava and so on. But then again, there's no market for it and the crop spoils. But people are trying. So all they need is some form of guaranteed market and guaranteed price, and they'll produce. They'll produce. So with the guaranteed market and guaranteed price, government has to work with the private sector to set up food processing.
Correct.
One of the largest grower of cassava is Nigeria, and I think a woman is leading the charge. And she has built an empire based on, and she's a multimillionaire now, based on cassava, very simple products like cassava powder, cassava, this, that, and syrup, etc., etc. But the point is that once you're willing, things can happen. Things can happen.
Yeah, Tobago, I get cassava flour in Tobago pretty close to $8 a pound.
There you are.
Yes, it's been done farine. It's called farine,
Yeah.
desiccated
Sorry.
and farine, and it's used now to feed baby. You can feed babies and so on instead of the clam and milk
Yeah.
powder. You use
Yeah.
it as a stopgap measure to. You see, the, there are a lot of creative ways. You just have to band your belly for a year or two, and you can make money out of agriculture. There is serious money in agriculture,
There is. There is.
you know. But
Yeah.
then again, is a lot of geographic discrimination among people, constituencies to foster this are not in P&M areas. So you get no help whatsoever. You get a lot of talk, a lot of technocrats talk, a lot of advisors talking about, they just talk, but they have never been in a field to plant anything. So,
This is where, for example, I just made a proposal to, just an outline proposal to the Minister of Trade, and I said we should hold a fair for furniture manufacturers
okay.
from Trinidad, right?
Hmm.
Because we continue to import a tremendous amount of furniture, And we have a lot of high value wood, mahogany, teak, and other woods, right? And if we give them that exposure, they'll be quite happy, first of all, to even be recognized. So once we can see the quality of work they are doing and give them the encouragement and the support in terms of marketing and so on, I think that will be a big industry for Trinidad. I myself planted, let's say, mahogany trees, right? Teak trees, mahogany trees, apamat. Apamat is growing very well, mahogany growing very well. So what I
Yeah.
learned about mahogany, it is
Takes
not tough.
40 years to mature. Teak
No,
take
no, no. I can't put my hand around it. Some of them so big, I can't put my hand around it.
really, but we did the same thing, but we planted teak around the boundaries of our land. 30 years to
Right,
mature, and so
right.
fire doesn't bother it. So if there's a fire on
No,
the perimeter, actually that is good because you know, it's good for the teak tree themselves. They can withstand the vagaries of the weather and so on. Fires, they grow in
that's
30
correct.
years time, But a lot of people by us down south, they have done what's called the Colombian cedar, which takes 15 years to mature.
Depending
And
on the soil,
yeah.
depending on the soil.
Now, by the way, yesterday I saw an advertisement here in Miami that Trinidad mahogany is available. And the
Ah,
guy is showing off his strains of mahogany, what he's said, different sizes, the quality, and so on. So I was shocked when he said Trinidad mahogany for sale here in Miami.
look
And
at that.
right away, I was looking at, some of these high valued and high manufacturers of furnishings. I don't know if you know what's called Ashley Furniture.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, we have
Courts,
them here.
courts that is importing that from Miami. I mean, the
Right, right.
product here. And I would not doubt there may be other players in the market
Yep.
who will
Right. So,
will rush our teak and rush our mahogany and rush
yeah,
our apamant, and these lumber. But to create values, you need to create the value back home itself, and
added
export
value.
it. Yeah. So
That's correct.
this is the thing.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a story, Sumant, you probably know about it, and this is not Amul, right? Amul started as a cooperative. I think they're still a cooperative and so on. But this is another company. His dad started milking,
Yeah, the ghee, they
produ-
produce ghee. Amul
producing
ghee.
milk, right?
Yeah.
But his business strategy was simple. He said, "Look, why are we selling the milk and other people are adding value to it?"
Yes.
So he began a yogurt, he began butter, he began cheese, right? Then he branched off into things like ice cream, things like kulfi, kulfi, right?
Yeah, 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 of course.
So he branched out into these things, and what he found difficult to get it distributed long distances because the people, the retailers didn't have the fridge and so on, right? So he invested in all of that.
A value
He
chain. He
invested,
created a
right?
value chain for his
Value.
product.
So it's a question of adding value to his product, and he's a very large company now in India, a young guy. And here it is, we are selling out our raw materials. Now, what
Well,
exactly are our raw materials? Eh? Sugarcane, there's a lot you can produce in terms of medicine and so on from it, animal feed, etc., etc. But some of the most valuable raw materials we have is scrap iron, it's
yeah.
scrap, it's waste. And we either throw it away or we export what we could, and that's it. But there's a tremendous amount of added value to do with regards to recycling. And that's a massive industry by itself. So I think we both agree there's too many things to be done in Trinidad. What is required is a comprehensive plan, a plan of action for implementation, and make those things commercial ventures that government could spin off. In other words, Trinidadians are very shy to make investments in the private sector. I know a large conglomerate. They started off nothing. They wait on other entrepreneurs to start it and then they go and buy out the company. So, things like Massey and things like McInerney, what you call Olsons or so, and Makal, these fellas don't start off anything.
Right. They buy something already with a model, a business
Yes,
model, and a product, and they enhance it, create the downstream industries and the usage for it, and that's how they market. They don't waste
they,
their time on the R&D side of things.
no, no, but there's a lot to be done, and that's why I make the point that if the private entrepreneurs are lazy, government, if they're seeing the potential on something, can make the initial investments.
Yeah,
Now, the
it's yeah. They need to create
initial,
the incentivization to start with,
yes,
and
yes,
let people take some risk on their own. Guarantee the risk, a portion of it,
a
really, if you
portion.
pay. Yeah, but I think we have sufficient people who are willing to take the risk at this time, because once you can show them that, here, man, we have a ready market for everything. Anything you could produce in Trinidad, you have a market for.
Right. So that
Anything.
is where government protection comes in.
Yes.
If government could protect, I mean, all the industrialized countries, they protect their agriculture, they protect their small industries and so on. In fact, when China came on the scene, was it in 79 or 80? They were just supplying 2% of global trade, and now, up to last year, I don't know about now, but they were about 30%.
Yeah.
So we can actually give some protection because don't forget China subsidizes their manufacturing a
Of
lot,
course. Of course, it
a
is.
lot. They
Yeah.
subsidize it a lot.
So it's
BYD, BYD subsidize all the car.
electric
The
cars, the electric
Yeah,
cars. Yeah.
they're highly subsidized. So we need a certain amount of protection for our infant industry,
But
but
you
give it
only
room
get
to
that when
grow.
you have a government for all the people. We haven't
Right.
had
So
government for all the people, and
agreed,
and our
agreed,
people,
Gary.
and most of our people are too passive, to address the way this oppressed and subjected, still like we in slavery. We are still our wings are still clipped. So unless we come together, in a forceful way, and you have to have people who have the mindset to put up this fight. But we have a government again that is for all the people this time. Hopefully, we can keep that government in place. But at the same time, we have to develop a kind of structure within ourselves that we are not oppressed and suppressed like how we have been for the past 60 something years of independence.
Yes.
Correct.
And
That's
some
correct.
things will require us, the government, making a second and a
Yeah,
third
yeah,
change.
and all the barking and all the people flapping their wings down there. I mean, I don't really see really any really firepower behind them. It's like they're more opportunists than people who are, can get something done. So I mean, this is not a one man show. We have to learn how to stick together and fight to make to secure ourselves.
Quite correct. Quite correct. So it will require some cases two-term or three-term government. So you need to set the foundations. You need to have the strong foundations, and
Well, I want
this
more than 2 and 3 turns because the level of damage we see with the PNM. We don't want to return to the PNM or anything in that
No, I
like
mean,
structure to oppress our people. We have to realize what we're fighting for.
and in the beginning it may take some austerity measures. But see, and that is when you become unpopular as a government. And that is when, after 5 years, they were willing to give the other side a chance. And this has happened throughout since 1986 to now. This has always been a
you know,
one-term
Well,
government.
there can't be no, as far as I'm concerned, there can't be no other side. And that we have people, like grasshoppers jumping from here and there where they can get for themselves, and they don't stick together and fight this fight out. And that is one number one problem with us is that
Correct.
all of us I mean, we jump on. Okay, so a lot of people came on board with UNC because I mean they really suffered, and really cost them in many ways. But at the same time, we have to stay the course. So we have to understand why we stay in the course.
Yeah, Sumant, how I look at it, how I look at it is to make sure we have good governance, make sure the question of corruption, there should be not even perception of corruption, but we need to create some long-term sustainable jobs and restructure the economy. And I think the Prime Minister has already done a few good things in the first 100 days, um, and it's to keep up serving the people in ways that 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 will bring about benefits to them. Um, and sustainable jobs is extremely important, and this is where investment in new industries comes in. New industries. So I think I already mentioned many things to deal with low hanging fruit. For example, protecting consumer against
Gentlemen.
uh, banking malpractice and so on.
Mhm.
These are things that can be done without any expenditure. Once these bills are brought to Parliament and enacted, so there are simple things to be done without investment, and then there are others that require investment. But once you put people back to work on a sustainable basis, you take care of low cost housing, you take care of food security, you take care of long term employment. That
Yeah.
people people are seeing a hope for the future. I think this term could be extended way beyond 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Once things are done properly. Also, keeping in mind, PR has to be very aggressive and protective of what you're doing, because I think the opposition is not going to give an easy time, because according to Ramesh, he had mentioned once, he said the opposition is not there to make the government look good, and we have to accept that.
Neither
Yes.
do I expect. Neither do I expect Satan to roll over. Okay, so
Yeah.
I am that kind of soldier, and I intend to keep the enemy under restraint, and I intend to create that mindset among my team, and I intend to reinforce it and reiterate it that we understand that do not expect Satan to roll over. We have to keep the
You have
enemy
to
under our feet.
you have to keep at it. You just keep at
Yeah.
it.
We have to keep at it one. I think the Prime Minister has set the tone. She has set the tone, and I think if the ministers and they really pull their weight and work aggressively towards bringing things to the betterment of people, simple, small things like people need places to stay, water, lights, cooling, little healthcare, and so on, and start from that basis. And over time, people will realize, yes, some more opportunities are coming. Things can take off, especially with the small and medium-sized
Hmm.
businesses, that sector. Well, that in any country, even in the US, that is the sector that drives the economy.
Hmm.
SMEs. SMEs drive the sector. They're the ones who employ the 5, 10, 15, 20 people in Trinidad, per se. But here, SME is considered when you employ 200, 500 people in the US here. That's considered an SME in the
Yeah.
US. So what I'm saying is, when you employ people, then those people have a little spending power, at least no. So they buy the money circulating in the country. Everybody gets a little bite of the cherry, so to speak. So you got to kickstart the economy along those lines. Give them the tax refund. If you have to finance the tax refund, to give it to them. Give it to them. Let that sector be a generator of employment and cash flows and so on. So I'm
You know,
seeing that as a quick win. Um, if you, as I say, if you have to borrow that $1 billion to give it to them through that, tax as a your VAT refund. If that is the way you have to do
Oh
it that.
yeah, yeah. But you know that it brings on the table the whole question of the taxation system. And this is my belief that a taxation system has to be tailored, best suited for the country. And I think this question of PAYE, government actually directly, I think, employ with its state enterprises and so on about a hundred thousand persons. So 100,000, our overall working population about 600, a little more than 600. So that is one sixth. So that's about what, 16%, right?
Yeah.
Unlike Tobago, which has about 70%,
60,
probably the largest, highest in the world.
60%. I work in Tobago all my life, most of my life too. So
Yeah, but since you
60,
left, it's gone up.
60 to 65% of the
Yeah,
direct employment in Tobago is by the state sector.
right. And the remaining 35%,
It was
65 is employed by those 65%. So it's
correct.
100%.
And a few in the services sector, the tourism sector, fishing, farming, and so on, housekeeping,
Yeah,
this sort of thing. So in a way, almost all people they are employed
yeah,
because
yeah. I mean,
if the population if the population is 60,000 people and you have 65,000 employed by the state sector, you're talking pretty close to like 35,000 persons.
well, they say Finland is the happiest country in the world, but I don't think they went to Tobago as yet.
No, no, no. You know, because anyway, that's a different story.
Yeah, I was just mentioning the tax, right?
Yeah, the
So,
tax.
Madan, you will have ideas. I mean, you probably have much wider international experience. My feeling, we should move towards a consumption tax, and I'll tell you why. You know, government has declared that inland revenue, that is Ministry of Finance, they are
Hmm.
short 1,000 plus persons.
I heard that.
Right. So if they employ 1,000, who's going to pay them? And they're going to harass the daylights out of everybody else to collect that tax.
Hmm.
And the simple way, since our propensity to import is so high,
Hmm.
you deal with taxation at the ports. You deal with taxation at the ports by way of duty, by way of whatever name you want to call it, right? So that is where the government will have discretion to say the basic items, zero duty. Other items, there could be a progressive rate on it.
Hmm.
What that would do, government will be narrowing the gates for collection. So there'll be less what I would call
Bureaucracy.
tax
Bureaucracy.
evasion. Less tax evasion, right?
Hmm.
But once you put the chicken out of the coop, it's harder to catch.
Yeah.
So if you are able to tax it at that level, government will get money directly. They'll get money directly.
Hmm.
They would not have to wait for it to filter through the system to start collecting taxes. And government will be in a better position now to manage the taxes to influence public policy as to which are the essential items that'll be tax free, so that will come in at a lower price, and the ones that are medium and high in terms of luxury items, you can tax that to death. So
Right.
who really wants it, buy it. Now when you do that, you're also able to control the demand for foreign exchange. Now when government, if they're employing, let's say, 100,000, and they take out PAYE, they take out PAYE. So why not just pay less, deduct the amount for PAYE, and say we're reducing your salary and this is what you're paying gross, and get rid of PAYE. Many countries that are oil rich actually don't have PAYE. They don't have house tax. They don't have several of these taxes that you have to go and collect from the street. So, so I think if government revamp the taxation system, that there'll be a significant amount of administration they don't need within government. And
Correct.
government
That's a
has,
good point. That's a good
and
point.
and government has to aim for efficiency because jump high, jump low, whilst the prime minister willing to fund virtually everything that comes across her desk, we are limited by way of the debt load and by way of the income coming in. Now, I heard some good news where they said, was it not
Excellent. Excellent.
Exxon? Yeah. But that'll take a few years, am I right, Suman?
Yes, yes, yes.
It'll take a few years, right? But hopefully we will have learned our lesson and manage our oil income very prudently going forward. So I'm looking at it. It sorry, if we are able to diversify the economy, provide long term employment for people, that they're seeing a future, that they could send their children to school, they can buy the books, they can borrow money and buy a car and build a house. So basic items are in place with government support as much as we could. But by and large, if people are productively employed, we'll have a very different society, very, very different. And this is where whilst I think, this is my feeling, the manifesto very professional. The
Very right.
question now, the question now to Mantangari is for the ministers to fully understand the manifesto and see how best they can implement it.
Exactly.
No,
So they have,
I I agree with you, Wade, but when I look at the current crop of ministers, a lot of them are new ministers, young ministers, and to do what you're saying, it requires vision, and you must have that vision and passion to do these things. And what I suggested from upfront is that there we should have a planning and implementation team for the country, not for the
correct,
ministry, for the
correct,
country, to
correct.
take those 15, you know, what they call growth poles,
Yes,
that
yes.
which makes up the manifesto, which is a combination of all the manifestos, right? Let that planning team now coordinate the implementation of those projects. So be it whether it's a uh, public administration project, whether it's a Ministry of Education project,
Mhm,
let that planning team, that implementation team,
mhm,
be the sole repository to implement those plans for the government. Because
mhm.
I'll tell you what, we may have each ministry has a planning team. Each ministry will have an implementation team. Why are
Yeah.
you duplicating all these in the case of 15 or 16 ministries? Why you have to do that? Why don't you have a core planning team and have representatives from each ministry as well to be part of that?
Mhm.
So in
But
that way, you developing capacity, you developing you know, your own specialists. You're not waiting like the PNM to say, now after 9.5 years, we have learned about the
mm,
implementation
yeah.
after so long. And now have
Well,
that
you,
implementation team up front. And
you,
you can
someone,
fast track
someone, yeah.
projects, right? Prioritize projects, and generally in planning, you know, it has a methodology. You have to
Yeah.
know your outcomes, know your
No, well,
tactics, know your strategy, know your HR, human capacity, your policies, your governance structure, your legislation. All that is part of it. So when you have that team, you give me any project, man. You have a project in agriculture, run it by us. We'll tell you how to do it.
No, I agree with you because that is specialization.
Yes,
You
and
know,
You know?
Dr. Molina also met with a team that are discussing wind energy. How we're
yes,
going to be able to implement that. So he's hoping to put something together. I saw that also today.
yes.
But
So
You know all
this CPET fund URP structure, we had to match that up. Guys, we have to create a better structure for people to have employment and guarantee employment. Within the municipal corporation there,
well,
and then how.
first they have to clean up that and jail a few people well.
So I
No,
mean,
no,
but
that's a fact. I hear Khadija Aman yesterday or today mentioning that the all these ghost gangs what they had, a lot of these people had mini marts and
yes, yes.
had mini mart staff, ghost mini mart staff, and some of them, Gary, we discussed that were on the payroll.
and they were absorbing the bulk of the money, not the people who really doing the job.
Correct, correct, correct. So.
So let Marvin Gonzalez come and talk about that, right? Instead of bringing up race talk,
But that is
right?
what they do. That's the trump card they always use. They use the race card right through, and we are oppressing the black
Yeah,
man.
yeah. And Dr. Rowley, white collar crime. It's them UNC Indian we committing white collar crime.
Yeah,
And focus, change the focus on that. In the meantime, they're raiding the treasury. Look what they do now. Who raid the treasury? The UNC Indians.
yeah. So you
Uh,
see,
uh, what happened to the most honest Indian in the PNN? Where is he?
he has pep now. He has
He,
pep.
he's,
You never hear him since election.
no,
And,
he's
and
gone
then
to,
and then and Rowley want to blame Kamala for Interpol looking into he. He should know why Interpol looking into he if they do. Why you gonna ask Interpol why they looking at you? Why you asking is Kamala the head of Interpol? Man, give me a break. Cut the bullshit.
I still believe that is a that's a tactic which the PNM used to defray the public from the real
Yeah,
issues.
yeah. But asking Kamala like Kamala's head of Interpol. Go ask
The,
Interpol.
the heat, no, they getting a lot of heat with the whole CPF and URP. So they're trying to deflect things away now.
Diversional tactics. Yeah, they're good at that. They're very good at that. And
Oh,
they have a bunch of ignorant people that follow their nonsense.
they master that strategy for deflection. So they trying to get some of the heat out of Alwari and Stuart Young and so on. So they create diversionary tactics.
Yeah, Barry tell Faris to come explain it.
so, so, well,
All of a sudden, he gone quiet.
so
The
Mark,
biggest,
what you're
the biggest mouth
suggesting,
talker in the PNM.
so you think Rowley put his name on the list then?
Well,
Maybe,
that's a guy who got COVID 5 times and he diagnosed himself.
yeah,
Yeah, and they could fabricate what they call it, email gate. So I mean, what else they gonna fabricate?
it's
Well,
But
true.
I mean, all we have is a word of mouth. We have no evidence. We have no evidence of what he's talking about. But he
No,
should know better. He's paranoid because he know what he's been doing. That's all. If you have a guilty conscience, maybe that's what the issue is.
you know, when you're out of the limelight after so many years,
yeah,
it's a tabanca,
yeah.
it's
That's
a
it.
real,
That's it.
so I think in,
And as usual, the PNM press,
yes,
the what they call it, the one
exactly.
percent media is going to give them all the necessary airtime and print
Coverage.
media.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but the press had the duty to go and call Interpol and say if this is true, but the press don't do anything.
No,
They
but
just,
the question they're asking is the police too aggressive on the criminals right now? That is the kind of crap the questionnaire of the
Yeah, yeah,
press.
the press, the Express today. I went
Yeah,
after the stupid fool. They do interview the population about when criminals attack them. What's their opinion on criminals attacking in the country? What's your opinion that the TTP has kept you defenseless without granting you an FUL?
No, but those are the questions, and nobody asks these questions because they are told how to ask questions, Gary.
Yeah, what's your
Yeah.
opinion that Sati got kidnapped and kept in a house in down in Toko there, an abandoned
Rambanana.
house and no food and take away from she family? Huh?
Mm. Yeah,
Well,
I think that the press out
I
a place to
I
be
ain't vexed the
asking.
police bust bullet in the tail, but I just want one of them so we could get information who involved.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that is why is that critical? Well, you have all the print media as well as all the television and most of, well, not
Playing
most,
on the psyche of a population. That is what they have done. They have
yes.
they have indoctrinated
So
the people to think a certain way.
right, so we have been conditioned now, but on the other side, or the flip corner side, is that should by now have their own PR and communication systems going full steam ahead, and don't wait like the last time. You see, the last time they were the UNC did a lot of work and people hardly knew of what they were doing all along. You know, the
Mhm.
106 schools were built. You only hear that at the end of 5 years. How many police stations were built? Only at the end of 5 years. How much water was distributed? How much water lines were built out and so on. So you only heard these things after 5 years. P&M, if they build a water pipe, they cut a ribbon for that, and you hear it in the news.
They couldn't even build a good highway to Toko. The thing deteriorating.
they Everything for them is a news, so they're cutting ribbons for everything.
Yeah,
Anything,
but
any
they run a cut ribbon for a hospital on one floor there and the whole thing empty.
Yep. What about the
You know?
Tobago airport? Yeah, it's another story.
Yeah,
I tell you that whole story already.
yeah,
So you see these things. So the UNC need to have their PR and their communication
yeah.
department really
You
proactive.
want to tell me the Trinidad and Tobago Aviation Association don't know that you have to build the airport runway to international standard? You telling me
And,
they didn't know that?
and
What they think they was going to bring? Was going to land
Mhm.
it? Them dusters
in
that was
Midco,
dusted the cane?
and the guy in Midco is saying that, oh, by July we will get full approval and so on. Wait, we talking about July next 2 years, not this July. And the fact of the matter is that the THA in Tobago was never consulted on any of these
Mhm.
decisions, So it's a whole monkey pants there right now. The runways are beautiful runway, beautiful building, but it's like you building your house on the edge of the neighbor fence, and
Mhm.
you use no setback
Where you go
from
past
the
the car?
no the water falling on his side,
Mhm.
and you have breached all the regulations on one side. So what's going to happen? How do you correct it? Do you break down the new building? Do you shift the runway and start to fill up the sea?
Mhm.
Do you move all the people? Decide what are you going to do? You created a problem which should have never been there. It should have been solved at the beginning. But this is the way to
Yeah.
do business. So on top of that, you have a 45% cost overruns for one.
We have to keep educating the population and reminding it and singing why you don't want PNM in government ever. Because you have to keep bringing up these things and showing it to them. Because some people it won't sink in once; they might have to say it 10 times. You understand? But we have to keep utilizing this channel to bring the information and education to the people.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
And inspiring the government. So thank you, Mr. Siri. I mean, I know you might be tired by now. So
Yeah, my throat's still giving trouble, man. Oh gosh. Anyway,
yeah. So anyway,
we
I
survived.
know you'll be doing a couple of stuff. So when you are available, let me know again.
Well,
And
I'll be traveling for a few weeks, but send it in once I have access. I could probably join.
Did you,
Right.
did you
Right.
Yeah.
get a special invitation from Modi ji to go to Delhi? Because he's in England. He's in England right now.
Yeah, that let me tell you, I am amazed at his capacity to travel and energy level. Hmm?
Me, I don't want to do it. The traveling to Trinidad is enough for me. I mean, as much as I love Indian culture, I ain't getting on no plane to go there.
But
Yes.
I
No,
don't want to be
Suman,
confined like that.
I'm from Miami. I miss a day in my life, but
yes,
I gain it back when I come back. I leave Friday night there at two
Welcome,
o'clock,
Monica.
and
Happy to.
I reach Miami 4 o'clock Friday. So wasn't bad. I had the opportunity to go up Delhi and go up north, Kashmir, Srinagar, Jammu.
but you must go to Simla, you know.
Oh, yeah, that is what I missed. Well, it says Shimla, the health station, but
Simla, yeah.
I went to one Patni Top. I went to Vaishno Devi, which was about 14 or 15,000 feet up in Jammu.
Yeah, that huh,
It's something you pass like about 5 layers of clouds.
huh,
You go up
amazing.
a layer,
Yeah.
then you see
Yeah.
a blue, then you pass another layer. I took a horseback ride, so I had to.
Yeah, oxygen levels are scarce.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
oh
you have to be so careful.
yeah. Breathing and so on is
Yeah.
a problem, but I was
Yeah.
in.
Anyway, Mr. Sriram, I know you. As long as you have internet, you could
Yeah,
maintain with the emails and the WhatsApp, and then whenever you're available,
yes.
let us know, and you will read the message. You will know what's going on.
So yeah, I will. But Gary, you staying where? New Jersey?
Yeah, I'm in New Jersey.
But you all had floods the other day.
Yeah, but not where I live. Not
Not where.
even.
Okay, you were
Yeah, I
good.
mean,
Okay.
yeah, in my area. Fortunately,
That,
God always lead me in the right place to live.
Right.
you shift in time. Suman,
Right.
where does you live, if I may ask?
I live right on the ocean, but I have moved from there and I live inland, a little bit about a mile from the beach. Um, First
That's
in North Miami Beach, and I'm up in
North Miami. Okay.
yeah, and I'm here now in Hollywood. You know,
In
so
Miami.
yeah, well, North Miami Beach, really, it's called.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It,
Hollywood is the town outside of Miami.
Yes.
north of Miami, and in between Fort Lauderdale and Miami is Hollywood.
Now, I'm making this last comment, right? America, one of the most advanced country in the world. Why can't they? They're getting presidents over 80 years, 75 years, 80 years. Why can't they have an escalator going up to the plane?
You have to
No,
ask
because they're
Biden.
too busy.
You
They're
have to
too
ask
busy
Biden
spending the
that.
money otherwise. They're too busy spending the money otherwise. We have a share of corruption here. You think Trinidad has corruption? Man,
Boy,
the focus.
everybody wants to be in government for a particular reason.
Yeah.
But they dominate how the money is spent. Now, I'll give you a simple example. I mean, we have too much water in one part of the country, and we don't have enough water in the other part of the country. With all the technology we have now, we could move oil. You think we
Yes.
could move some of the water in that direction, right?
Sure.
You could bring
Right.
Well,
all
We have
I don't know.
we supposed to have the best
I,
engineer. We have the capability. We have the
ho-
resources.
hold on, Gary. Hold on. I don't know if you see what some major projects in Afghanistan. They're building a whole river to move water from one place to the next. A
Right.
massive investment.
Yeah,
So
but the
you're
Americans
correct.
can't do that.
No, you're correct. They could put, they could pass it through the
The
oil.
money during the war, during the Gulf War, the
Yeah.
money allocated to build a highway up to now we ain't see it. The money gone and you see the highway. All right, that's so. I mean, you think Trinidad have corruption?
You have to understand, Gary, how the American economy works there, man, because what they use the Gulf for. Gulf War is to use all these antiquated American machinery and planes and so to get rid of them.
Military
All this
contractors like just
military
like how we have a 1% in Trinidad. We have special
say
interest here. All
so
right.
You get rid of all these F-16s, and nobody want these again. At least in the US, you have more advanced planes right now. So this is the way to get rid of these things. Cost it, financial cost it, and and you write it off in the books. So this is how the
Mhm.
economy goes along. They can get financing now for the new projects.
Mhm.
This is the F-35s now. Now they're talking about the F-47. So you see that as a trend. They got rid of
Yeah.
the old things. When I say old, some of these things are
What?
new for the rest of the world, but for American standards, they are old. They are
Uh,
newer
Yes, yes.
technology
and they
also.
always created a new threat that it's always somebody wants to attack us, so we need to have this and we need to have that. And
And
let me tell you something, there are people that will create a situation just to get that contract going. All right.
yeah,
So I mean, we dealing with a lot, and we are small little country island people. We're just trying to feed we people, and let them handle their business, and let's fix ours here. I mean, I live here. I'm a citizen here, but I'm only a citizen by paper. The way
yeah,
Trump moving these days, he could revoke it anytime he want to. So,
yeah,
Mhm.
that's right.
so, but let me tell you something. I want us to fix the healthcare and the crime. We go deal with it, but the healthcare is highly critical. Because I mean, some of us are getting up in age too. I mean, I'm a little bit behind you guys, but I mean, things could happen to young people too. So we want certain things like we had the ambulance discussion and the response with Dr. Ramupa, the extent here last night, and we've been
Mhm.
reiterating that. So these are the things we want to see taking place. We want to see the money allocated for that. One of the things I think could be done, and maybe we could consult the population, is an ambulance fund where because you see the money goes into the healthcare, does not go to the health sector itself, and
No,
I don't want the money to stray from the ambulance. So, we pay for the service here. It is not free, even though it's provided free. Somebody's paying for it. But the fact that the money for the ambulance must stay for the ambulance, and nobody must
Mhm.
touch it. So we can look at it down the road to see how we can best facilitate that, because we could consult the citizen and say, listen, consult the citizenry and say, listen, I mean,
and
what's your opinion on the fact that we create this fund, a tax or whatever it is, that and nobody wants to pay more tax, but you're giving a justification, and the fact that that money goes into that fund where it cannot be touched for anything else. Yeah.
Gary,
Okay,
we have
I
hopes.
will take leave. Sumant,
Yeah, yeah,
Gary, I'll
yeah.
take
So
leave.
yeah. So think
Yeah,
about
All
it,
right, take care.
Mr. Sira. We have to create something in order to have this service going and without any interference, financially
Yeah.
or anything like that.
My feeling on the question of health, we should focus a lot on preventative um, health, preventative
Yeah,
medicine and
yeah. I
so
mean
on.
that is
I mean,
that is known, but
yeah.
we still have to create the
No,
response. I
no,
mean,
I'm not denying that. Yes, we'll have to have the infrastructure and equipment in place, but the
we
amount of junk.
we have ambulance, which is I consider to be a donkey cart with flashing lights because they have no equipment in it and no training.
yeah.
Yeah.
It starts from there, Gary. No
Okay, good night,
setback.
guys.
Good night.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Mr. Sira, for taking the time. Suman,
Take,
Take,
so
take
we will
care.
catch up. Yeah. Good night,
Okay,
everybody.
Suman.
all right,
Yeah.
take care, Wade. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye bye.
So, so I want to thank everyone for taking time to listen tonight, and that we will see what happens tomorrow if we are able to get anyone interested in joining us. Mr. Singh, I'll let you know if I'm able to get anyone. Otherwise, it's just gonna be me and you.
Sure, no
Or if
problem. Anytime, Gary.
yeah,
Anytime.
yeah. So let's see what's going on, and we will discuss it.
Make use of me for the next 2 weeks because I'm out of here for the next after that time.
Well, the other recruit me some young people down there who interested.
Yeah, I'll try to get somebody in Miami, but I'll
No,
be
not
down.
only that, but I want to get some young people in Trinidad. I want people in Trinidad. I mean, the channel is here. I'm paying for it. Let's hear your opinion on what you want to see in the country. what's happening in your community, anything like that, it'll be good.
Yeah,
All
correct.
right.
Yeah, that's
So, make use of it. With the 1% and giving you airtime.
right.
Yeah.
That's right, my man. And you're doing an excellent job, Gary. I don't know how you do it all, juggling between work and all this voluntary stuff, and not getting the relevant feedback. I will say feedback from the sense commitment from some of the people in the know. You know what I'm talking about.
Well,
Uh,
well, I am confident. I am confident and can stay in the course, and we will talk more of this
of
of, of
yes,
here.
yes,
All
yes.
right. So I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you, Monica, for joining us. There was a Ria, Sal.
Any word, Gary, from one of the ladies who was here before is Nadia, or what her name
No,
was?
she was here. She says she's traveling to England tomorrow.
No,
To
no,
go to
no, no,
Fire.
no, not that person. The one from Nova Scotia, the nurse.
Fazia.
Fazia, yes. Her mother was sick, the very sick.
Yeah, yeah. I have to reach out to her. I haven't heard from her in a while, so I got to see what's going on with Fazia.
Yeah, so I know she said she was planning to go to Trinidad to look after her mother. And so I don't know if what transpired because it's been like 2 months we haven't heard
Yeah,
from her.
yeah, yeah. So I got to catch up to her really.
All right.
But as you get down into Trinidad, I'm looking to get people who would volunteer some time and to tell us about their community, what's taking place, what they're doing, what they would like to see, things like that. Um,
Nice. Why not?
this channel is open, wide open, to our people, and I don't understand why I'm having such a hard time. But if I have somebody physically there representing our issues, then it will help.
Yeah. Are you, by any chance, you have any contacts in Point Lucia's boy with customs and so on?
No,
I need
not
some help with anybody with customs in Point Lucia's
to
because
give you an understanding what you have to pay.
not whatever I have to pay, I have to pay. That evasion is not my style. I have to pay something, I pay something. But all my stuff is used stuff. I've been here for 8 years, in addition to the 20 odd years before that. But
Um,
what the thing is, once it goes there, someone could
didn't you
die.
write the ministry? Didn't you write the ministry for an appeal or
Yeah,
something?
but
No,
they
didn't
they
respond.
they they want to know once why this and why you have a U.S. passport and all this kind of thing. That I'm telling them
But
I'm a returning resident from here, living here a number of years, and
yeah.
all I'm asking is, am I allowed to bring back my personal items which have
Yeah,
owned?
definitely. When I just had two, three little things, and they was asking me if I was a returning resident. I don't know. Some people don't even know what they're doing. But anyway, we will sort of that off here. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right then. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, man.